Have you ever seen someone who could capture your attention just with a look? Suzanne Pleshette was one of those people. From her bright smile to her unforgettable presence on screen, she left a mark that many still remember today. But there is something about her photos that shows more than just her acting talent. They show a side of her that feels very real and very human. In this video, we are going to explore Suzanne Plechette's photos. Pictures that leave very little to the imagination about her personality, style, and life. By the end, you will see why she was more than just a face on the screen. Suzanne Pleshette was born in Brooklyn, New York, in 1937. From a young age, she had a spark that set her apart. People say you could tell she was going to be special, and looking at her early photos, you can see that spark. Even as a teenager, she carried herself with confidence, and her eyes seemed to tell a story all on their own. But it was not just confidence. It was also a kind of honesty. You can see it in her portraits, the way she looks at the camera, the slight tilt of her head, the natural way she smiles. Her photos do not try to hide anything. They show someone who is comfortable in her own skin. When Suzanne started acting in the 1950s, her photos began to show another side. They captured her charm and energy, and sometimes even a little mischief. She appeared in plays, television shows, and movies, and photographers loved to capture her in candid moments. One thing that stands out in many of her photos is her expression. Sometimes she looks thoughtful, sometimes playful, sometimes serious. Each photo feels like it is telling a story, and while she played many characters, these photos remind us of the real Suzanne behind the roles. Her photos from television shows, especially the hit series The Bob Newhart Show, show her in relaxed and natural moments. She was not just acting. She was showing the warmth and wit that made people love her so much. Suzanne's style in her photos was simple but powerful. She did not need flashy clothes to make an impression. A simple dress or a classic outfit was enough to show her personality. Looking through her fashion photos, you can see someone who knew herself and was not afraid to show it. What makes these photos interesting is how they capture more than fashion. They capture her mood and energy. Sometimes she looks calm, other times confident. You do not just see clothes, you see a person. And that is why so many people still look at her photos with admiration. Her personal life was also a big part of who she was, and some of her photos show that too. Whether she was at home with friends or at an event, Suzanne's personality shines through. These pictures show someone who was approachable and genuine. It is easy to see why so many people admired her, not just for her looks, but for her presence. Even when she was not on set or in a professional photo, she had a way of being the center of attention without trying. Some of the most memorable photos of Suzanne are close-ups. In these, you can see her eyes and smile very clearly. These photos do not hide anything. They leave little to the imagination because they show her feelings and expressions so openly. You can tell she was someone who felt deeply and expressed herself honestly. Close-up photos also highlight her unique features, the ones that made her stand out from the crowd. Her strong eyes, her expressive mouth, her confident posture. All of these make her photos unforgettable. You can see why people still admire her decades later. Looking at her photos together, it is clear that Suzanne Pleshette was a person of many sides. She could be playful, serious, thoughtful, or fun-loving. Each photo shows a little bit of her personality, and the more photos you see, the more you understand her as a person. She did not try to be perfect, and that is what makes her photos so appealing. They are honest and human. She shows us that beauty is not just about how someone looks. It is about how they express themselves. Suzanne Pleshette may have passed away in 2008, but her photos continue to tell her story. They show someone who lived fully, who enjoyed life, and who was not afraid to be herself. If you look closely at her photos, you do not just see a famous actress. You see a person who had a spark, who had a personality, and who could make people stop and pay attention. That is why her photos leave very little to the imagination. They show her life, her energy, and her character in ways words alone cannot. So, when you browse through pictures of Suzanne Pleshette, Take a moment to notice more than her smile. Notice the confidence, the playfulness, the depth in her eyes. Notice the real person shining through the camera lens. Suzanne Plechette's photos are more than images. They are a story of someone who lived, laughed, and shared herself with the world. And even now, decades later, her presence is felt in every picture, reminding us of a woman who left a mark that still matters.